Welcome to Why Not Me? Embracing Autism and Mental Health Worldwide. Hosted by Tony Mantor. Broadcasting from the heart of Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee. Join us as our guests share their raw, powerful stories. Some will spark laughter, others will move you to tears. These real-life journeys inspire, connect, and remind you that you're never alone. We're igniting a global movement to empower everyone to make a lasting difference by fostering deep awareness, unwavering acceptance, and profound understanding of autism and mental health. Tune in, be inspired, and join us in transforming the world one story at a time. Hi, I'm Tony Mantor. Welcome to Why Not Me? Embracing Autism and Mental Health Worldwide. Before we jump in, if you haven't already, tap the follow button. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps more families that need to hear these conversations. Joining us today is Liam Edward Golder. His autistic journey did not begin in childhood with a clear roadmap. It unfolded later in his life. Not only did he find out later in life, but his father was diagnosed autistic at age 70. This conversation is about what happens when clarity arrives late, how it can bring relief, grief, validation, and healing all at the same time. It's about seeing your parent and yourself through a new lens. He has a great story to tell. So before we dive into our episode, we'll be back with an uninterrupted show right after a word from our sponsors. Thanks for joining us today.
No, I appreciate you asking me on. It's amazing. Really excited.
Yes, great to have you on. You just mentioned you recently discovered you are autistic. If you would, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, what it is. I basically got family with autism. Basically, my dad, I'll go more into that as well, but my dad got diagnosed late with autism and Asperger's syndrome, and my nephew as well, autism. And it didn't occur to me, really, that I had it as well, and then I started to notice patterns and things, and part of the show and the build up of different things that have happened actually led me to realize I basically have got it as well. So it's because mine is actually a lot to do with creativity. So mine actually I see as a strength, which I've realized, rather than something to be seen as a weakness or a worry or something to be, concerned about. It's led me to the world of creativity through my music, through having a career, full-time job in music, 30 years in music as a number one songwriter and singer and promoter for different celebrity artists as well, and all these things. But my creative brain, because of the autism, and I've got ADHD as well to add to it, but it's basically, I realized that my creative brain and my ideas and the way I look at the world differently has really helped with the music, and helping others with the songs. And it's a strength, Song ideas I get very easily. I get words very easily in my head. I've got like a photographic memory. I could write a song just from scratch on the spot, sort of thing, and helping, working in music and that creative aspect of that. And I realized through the family, so I probably got it through the generation of my own dad.
How long ago was it when you found out that your dad was autistic?
It probably was roughly about 10 years ago, because he was diagnosed really late. He wasn't diagnosed until he was about probably 70.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he'd been living with this for so long. And, his mannerisms are very drawn. Like I can look quite straight-faced, and he looks very expressionless at times and doesn't, he doesn't understand what's going on sometimes, and he doesn't understand emotions sometimes. Mine's different. The way I get it is different.
You both have a certain thing in common, is that you both have been diagnosed autistic later in life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With that said, what are some of the similar things that you see you both have in common?
Similar things, I think we can be both of us can be withdrawn. In certain situations, I'm very, Dad will be on his own a lot, and he will be in his own mind and his own thoughts, and I get that sometimes as well. I can be very, very much. I'm not great in crowds, even though I work in music and I love music and stuff. We're both not that great in crowds and loud noises.
I can totally understand that.
Yeah, so I've got the headphones and all that stuff. I lose myself in the headphones quite a lot.
When you learned that your dad was autistic, did that lead you down the path to questioning about yourself at all?
A bit at the time, but I was very lost in his diagnosis. I got very lost in that at the time. I used to look at autism very differently and the symptoms and things. And I think there's that stereotype of what autism is or how it should be or what people think it is, sometimes. Because he's like a quieter version of me. I didn't think as much about myself at the time. I thought more about him. But as time went on, I started noticing things in myself, like menus I find really hard to read. I feel very overwhelmed. I started noticing, especially in New York over the years, that every time there's a menu, I was overwhelmed with trying to look at this menu. To me, it looks like an atlas. I'm like completely overwhelmed with it. It just feels like so much information.
I'm curious. Everyone has their perception of what they think autism is.
Yeah.
So what were your perceptions of what you think autism was? And then when your father was diagnosed, did it change your perception at all?
Yeah, I even worked in autism, but I used to always think it was just a vagueness, not responding to other human emotions and being very cut off from the world and things. I used to just think that. And then I realized it wasn't just that. There was so much more to it, as well as seeing shapes or hearing sounds or processing things differently in people and not always recognizing people's emotions or things, which he does a lot. He doesn't recognize people's emotions sometimes. And you have to remind him and they go, oh, right. Oh, yeah. They're thinking that person is thinking this and they're upset about this or they're worried about this. You go, oh, are they? Oh, well, I can register it sometimes. I don't always register it, but that was one of the things. But bright lights as well, I noticed even in supermarkets, bright lights would get me a bit, like in the shops, the bright lights, or I've been in the bathroom and that sort of thing, or things like that. But I say the big thing for me has been music. My big obsession is music, and I always was stuck on a lot on one subject, which has been that.
When you learned of your diagnosis of being autistic, did you get that through a therapist? And then, once it was confirmed that you truly are autistic, what went through your mind? What were some of the first thoughts that you were thinking with your new diagnosis?
Yeah, it was like a therapist years ago in the beginning, and then I recently found out more about it, like since the show. And I thought to myself, but when I found out and it was like confirmed, I was like, well, actually, it makes sense now. I always felt a bit weird. Sometimes I felt very different from the world a lot. I always felt like I didn't fit into a lot of situations and always felt a bit odd or just very different. And I could never understand why apart from the ADHD. And then I thought, because I say photographic memory and I can remember like loads of numbers. But I remember feeling actually quite relieved and happy that I actually I thought, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense now. I feel relieved. And like I said to you earlier, I feel now that I can use it as a strength.
Sure. Now, did you tell anyone?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, who did you tell? And of course, what was their reaction to the diagnosis?
Well, my partner, my family, and they said, oh, God, yeah, of course, that makes perfect sense that as well, because some of the things that, I said I've always been good with numbers and remembering words and having this sort of being able to memorize things like what a lot of people would forget about. I just keep remembering all these like a number plate from 30 years ago in my dad's car and stuff like that. The big thing for me has been the music focus, like hyper focus on that. I've worked to say 30 years in music, helping others and famous people, and it's not held me back. My mind feels very busy at times, and there's a lot to process. It's made me with a creative level of things that excel really, I think, and I'm not seeing it as a barrier. I work with all different celebrity artists and music artists and write songs for them and promote them, and I'm side acts as well, and it's a full-time job, and potentially working with like a hot chocolate band from the UK. Lots of other people like Wu-Tang Clan potentially, and lots of big names, like say Linkin Park and what I've done before, Adele and stuff. So,
did you ever feel like you was a translator for your father to other people?
Yeah. Sometimes it has felt like a translator. Yeah, because I've had to sort of be a messenger sort of thing.
Yeah, because he was autistic and still trying to comprehend things.
Autistic, and he's also got paranoid personality disorder. Just to add to it. So that obviously has been a challenge as well. He thought someone was trying to trick him or against him or something, Like someone like our old dog, a pet dog, he'd think that they were trying to take the dog or something, and I'd have to, reassure him and say, no, they're not trying to take the dog. They're just saying hello to the dog. It's all good intentions,
Yeah, that makes sense. When you found out your father was autistic and then later realized you were autistic too, did that change how you understood him? Did it help you separate his struggles from his strengths and see them through a different lens? Was there ever a moment where you thought he wasn't being distant or difficult, he was just being overwhelmed?
Absolutely. Yeah, I realised why he struggled throughout his life, I realised why he was so withdrawn and why he found it hard to communicate with people. It all sort of clicked into place. that he was the reason why how he was, like he wouldn't react to certain situations at all.
Right. Now, after his late diagnosis, did you notice any shift in him? Almost like a weight being lifted off his shoulders. Did having that understanding give him relief and, of course, some clarity in his life?
I think so, because I think he's always been like asking questions and thinking a similar thing why he felt different, why he couldn't engage in connections easily, which I think I've struggled with in my life. I struggled to connect to people and like have conversations and really sort of to feel understood as well. So I was not really feeling understood. I think it's a lot to do with that as well. And he definitely felt different. And you could say to him, like, you could say, oh, there's a fire outside or something, but it wasn't. And it just go, oh, all right. He wouldn't actually really anticipate a danger or worry or fear. He wouldn't pick up on something to worry about. He'd just think, oh well.
Now, you say that you are originally from England, correct?
Yes. Yeah, originally from London.
Now, how long have you been here?
Well, I've been in New York for 4 years. 4 years.
Okay, so have you noticed a difference in how people have reacted from where you were in England to the people that you deal with on a continued basis here in New York? Have you noticed a difference, or has it been about the same reaction in both areas?
Well, not yet as such, because I've not gone into detail with all family in New York, but partner. Apart from that, I've actually just been going through the some family in the UK, and they were just just supportive really, and just was like, wow, this is just what it is. We actually understand. And they went, oh yeah, because you've always been like, they said to me, oh, you've always been really good with numbers. You've always been really good with words and songwriting and super focused on the music, like really tunneled on it. And I said, yeah, because I could, for a long time, I used to think, why am I so heavily focused on music all the time? Like constant, my whole brain going through it all day long, one subject. Of course, I do think of other things were important, like love and other things that I have that are important things, but the music is always like there and it's continually running. But I was like, why music? Like, why can't I think about something else or do something else? I was really like trying to battle that sometimes.
Is there any part of you that kind of resisted your diagnosis, possibly because of what you witnessed growing up with your dad?
Oh, I actually embraced it.
Awesome.
I had a sense of comfort in it actually, because I thought, well, now that gives me the answers of why I was, some of the questions I had about different things, and like thinking, why do I remember all them words and why do I remember all those numbers? And I remember people's like date of births very easily, or star signs very easily, or details about they tell me something and I remember it, and they go, how did you remember that? When my parents got married, they told me once and I remembered, and they was like, oh wow, you remembered that church. And yeah, I say with the songs, I can just reel off a song, and like normally I could do a song live and just like literally write a whole song.
Have you had any stressors, meltdowns? Has that affected you in any way at all?
Burnout, yeah. I think I've had mental burnouts. I think where I've worked so hard and I'm getting so many ideas, because my brain is very creative, so get so many creative ideas mixed with the ADHD as well and anxiety. I've had bouts of anxiety in my life. I think sometimes your brain can feel a bit overloaded,
Yeah, I can. Now, how do you deal with it? If you have some anxiety coming on, how do you put yourself in a position of where you can deal with it?
Yeah, I've had over the years. I've had anxiety, especially working in music and building that and getting that to a successful level, and knowing that I was basically music industry is a tough thing anyway, and on top of that, making a living from music to add to the plus having health conditions, it's a lot to do. Because I've got other people's careers in my hands as well. They're depending on me. I'm trying to do the best I can do. It's been really successful. It continues to build. I've worked with over 80 different celebrities, wrote with some of them as well, songwriting. Done things that I wouldn't even have imagined that I would have achieved, still achieving it, and I'm not letting the autism or anything hold me back, It's actually now a superpower almost, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. Now, since you have gotten your diagnosis, have you seen a change? Now you're getting to know what autism is. You're starting to get a better grasp and understanding. How have you adjusted to this? And what kind of changes have you seen yourself make moving forward?
Yeah, more acceptance of myself, because I found it very hard to accept some of my patterns, you know, I felt very strange at times. And I thought, well, no one else is doing these things that I know. So why am I memorizing all this stuff? Why am I so heavily focused on one subject sort of thing? But basically, I adjusted really quick because suddenly I've got the sort of clarity. I've had the clarity on different areas. And then I was like, oh, of course. Now that absolutely completely. I'm not, you know, a doctor or working at school, all these things that you think about doing when you're a child. And they say, oh, you should go and be this or be that. The music for me always happened, but I couldn't accept it for a long time, even though I was doing it. And I tried to come away from it, but it kept coming back like a boomerang. So I could never, you know, couldn't escape it really. And now I enjoy it. I enjoy it and I embrace it now because I accept the way I am. That I'm not actually, it's not a hobby. It's not just something I do, you know, like, you know, people are engineers or whatever they do, and we've all got a purpose. It took me a long time, but now I've accepted my purpose and what I have and how my mind thinks, you know, obviously, and that it's okay.
Now, most kids as they're growing up, they always have these perceptions of their parents. Why do they make me do this? Why do they make me do that? They're always questioning them. They don't know what they're talking about. Did you have any challenges like that? He hadn't been diagnosed autistic yet, but he did have some of those tendencies. Then after he got his diagnosis and you found out he's autistic, then you get your diagnosis of being autistic. Did that build a bridge that made the both of you closer because of the understanding you gained from being autistic?
Yeah, I mean, he actually, I'm just processing everything. Yeah, he just, like, after the diagnosis, I think, yeah, I did feel closer to him and understand more why he was, because I didn't have the guidance, like, I didn't have the career guidance. I come away from school and I struggled through school sometimes. You know, I did well in the end, actually, but the social aspect I really struggled with. The actual academic side I struggled with in certain subjects, but excelled in, well, of course, music, maths and English and things. But I didn't have the guidance when I left school of what to do. He didn't say anything to me. He didn't say, have you thought about this job? Have you thought about that? He didn't say anything. And now I know why he didn't now, because he wasn't thinking about it, because he was stuck in his autism. So I just found my own path, and obviously that led to the music. And I remember not having no guidance, and I remember thinking, that's just odd. I've got no guidance at all. Nothing, you know. But I don't hold that against him at all now. I understand why now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you say you're concentrating on your music.
Yeah, 30 years now. 30 years of it, yeah.
How do people find you? Give us your websites and social media so people can follow you on what you're doing.
Yeah, I've got, well, because I do what I do PR and marketing and communications for bands and songwriters, singers, all kinds of music. Basically, the website or the company is Son Heroes Music PR, and the website is www.son-heroes-music-pr.com. You can look me up under Liam Edward Golder. But Son Heroes is a company I've had for years and years. I say 30 years I've been doing all this now. Yeah, so the marketing and PR and basically like a music agent for all different kinds of bands and famous and non-famous singers and songwriters and all kinds of music. You know, people can find me. I do radio packages, TV, magazines, record labels, music venues, you know, music for airports and shopping malls, restaurants, hotels, all of it. You know, there's so much that I cover, which my creative brain just focuses on like a machine, really.
Have you had any challenges that you've had to overcome because of your autism with the work that you do and the clients?
I think just having a structure, like I've got a really good structure with it. But, you know, if a lot's going on at once, you have to balance that and then learn to structure that. Like anything in life, just have that structure and balance of what's going on. And I think that, yeah, the challenge was just really prioritizing what was important, what feeling overwhelmed, like we talked about earlier, not to feel burnt out by the actual clients or the workload. So it's just having that happy balance, you know.
Now that you understand yourself better after your autism diagnosis, add to that, you now see your father's life in a different lens because of it. What kind of legacy are you hoping to carry forward now?
Yeah, that's a great question. The music legacy, but also the health aspect. I am, you know, writing with different celebrity artists, singing with them sometimes before, and promoting them, being their agent and publicist, really, but also while having ADHD and autism and everything, to be like, well, okay, you can achieve things. You know, you haven't got to be put in a box, or you haven't got to not. The legacy is that you can to help to inspire others because you can achieve these things. You know, you haven't got to just think, right, well, I've got autism or got ADHD or whatever you have. and think, right, well, I'm not going to do anything, Like, I'm just going to sit there on the sofa and just put the headphones on and shut yourself off the world for the next 80 years or whatever. And I thought, no, I'm going to do something. I'm not going to let it stop me. In fact, it's now become the fuel to make things even bigger and build that legacy even stronger and say to other people, you can do it. You can do things beyond all the challenges. You haven't got to think that you can't. When people say you won't be able to do that, we've all had it at times in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 different autism diagnoses actually connected 2 different people because of it.
Yeah.
The beauty is it did not separate you.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what that connection means to you today, now that you have a better understanding of autism.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot more understanding and empathy and compassion. And one of the big things was he always looked so vague, as I do. I recognize I do. It just now, to me, it's like, well, I can relate to the reasons why he is how he is, And it wasn't to be rude. He wasn't being rude. He wasn't trying to be distant. He wasn't trying not to care about situations. It's just that he didn't understand his emotions in the world, and he didn't really know how to respond to a lot of situations, and still doesn't. But he's also just like the sweetest guy. So he's absolutely amazing, And he's always going to be the person that sits in the corner in the room. But that's fine, because that's how he is. But that's that. And the fact is that he's still a great person. And the fact that he's actually, he's had 3 children. He's been married to my mum 61 years, despite his health issues. And it's been a success, it's been a success. So he's done amazing. And that as well, it's an inspiration to think that you can do things, I was told, don't work in music, you'll be a loser. It'd be a hobby. What will your real job be? I had a business advisor and he said, well, I think working in the music industry is going to be hit or miss, so that I wouldn't actually do it. I wouldn't bother. And I come out of the meeting, and I deflated, and I thought, oh, geez, is he right or not? And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I haven't looked back, and I'm glad I did, because I built a career and I built an income and built as you like saying earlier, like what's going to be a legacy because of music. And I would, if I had listened to the naysayers and all the people that say you can't do this and don't do that, I would never have done it,
I've heard all those naysayers myself, so I totally get it completely.
Yes.
How old is your dad now?
Well, Dad's actually, God bless him, he's 81 now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's 81, so he's doing well. I mean, he's amazing, really, what he's been through. And yes, it's fantastic.
Is he still in England, or is he here in the States?
Yeah, he's in England still. So he was born in England. So he's there with Mum and the rest of the side of the family. So he's there. But yeah, he's always been my hero, because he's always been a great dad. Even through his struggles, he finds that kindness, And you do feel his love, even though he expresses it differently, and his concern. And every now and again, he'll break out of what he's in, and they go, "Oh, are you okay?" That sort of thing, or "Oh, do you need something?" Or are you all right? How are you? But I say he's become a great person despite all these challenges.
Nice. That's just so good. Now that you know this about yourself, how do you see yourself living differently now, not in spite of autism, but because of it?
I'm a lot more confident, feeling a lot more comfortable. As I said earlier, I've just come to a place of acceptance and realizing why I think the way I do. And I've always had a different way of thinking, and I never knew why. And I thought, it was strange. Now I don't think it's strange now. I think it's actually got its own uniqueness. I say, especially with the music, that's really, to help others with the music industry, which I'll keep doing, keep going for that, and keep helping people and successfully getting them out there. But I will keep pushing the music out there and keep helping people getting their music out, and changing the world in my own individual way.
Yeah, that's just so good. Well, this has been great. Great conversation, great information. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I really, really enjoyed it, and really grateful to you for having me on the show. Yeah, absolutely. It's been amazing.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks again. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to our show today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. If you know someone who has a story to share, tell them to contact us at whynotme.world. One last thing, spread the word about Why Not Me, our conversations, our inspiring guests that show you are not alone in this world.